And then shall the kingdom of heaven be likened unto 10 virgins, who took their lamps and went forth to meet the bridegroom.
And 5 of them were wise, and 5 of them were foolish. And they that were foolish took their lamps, and took no oil with them.
But the wise took oil in their vessels with their lamps.
While the bridegroom tarried, they all slumbered and slept. And then at midnight a cry was made, Behold, the bridegroom cometh, go ye out to meet him.
Then all those virgins arose and trimmed their lamps. And the foolish said unto the wise, Give us of your oil, for our lamps are gone out.
But the wise answered, saying, Not so, lest there be enough for us and you, but go ye rather to those who sell, and buy for yourselves.
And while they went to buy, the bridegroom came, and they that were ready went with him into the marriage, and the doors were shut.
Afterward came also the other virgins, saying, Lord, Lord, open to us. But he answered and said, Verily I say unto you, I know you not. Watch therefore, for ye know neither the day nor the hour wherein the Son of Man cometh.
Nestled in a grove of trees at the top of a steep hill, there was a shop. And every person who toiled up the path to the top came for the same reason, to buy oil. The shopkeeper was a young man with thick brown hair. His large hands were strong but gentle. He spent much of his time sitting at a wooden workbench, carefully sculpting small oil-burning lamps. It was his tradition to give one of these lamps to every person who moved into the village. Each lamp was meticulously crafted, and each was different from the others. Some were round, others were oval, some were made of ordinary clays, and others were made of terracotta. Some were perfectly smooth, while others had intricate designs tooled into their surfaces. But all of them held oil, and all of them produced light. The shopkeeper carefully sculpted each lamp to complement a quality he hoped each woman would develop within herself. With time and effort, each could become
a woman of the Scriptures,
a woman who takes the Spirit as her guide, a woman who keeps the commandments,
A woman who respects sacred things.
a woman of humility,
A woman who is loyal.
a woman of service,
a woman who diligently prepares,
A woman of prayer.
a woman of grace, personal conversion, and holiness.
With her lamp, each woman was given a choice. She could use her gift carelessly, foolishly thinking she had plenty of time to prepare, or she could use her gift at all times and in all things and in all places. The shopkeeper reminded each woman to return to his shop often. The tiny flame that the lamp produced could not be maintained without an ongoing supply of oil. And the lamp maker's shop was the only source of oil in the village. But the path to the top of the hill was steep, and the journey took time and effort. Those seeking oil would arrive at the lamp maker's shops at all times of the day or night, and each was met with a warm welcome, no matter the hour. The shopkeeper's brown eyes would light up as the lamp owner came through his door, and he always set aside his work to visit. Everyone knows his face, the shopkeeper on the hill. All through the night in his window burns as he works the clay, and everyone waits to see the lamp he's designed for her, carefully crafted, perfectly planned to be just as unique as she, a sculpture to her soul, a vessel carved to hold the precious oil she needs. He seems to look inside each heart knows where she will find the shopkeeper on the hill. Rugged and steep, each step of it worth the climb. Whenever she takes the time, he reminds her to return, so her lamp will always burn with the oil he freely gives. It holds the light to guide her path. He hopes she'll bring the lamp that only he can fill. His door is open still, the shopkeeper on the hill. He waits at the window. One of the first women to receive a lamp from the shopkeeper was Eliana.
I use my lamp to light the shadowed corners of my small home. When evening comes, I often sit next to its soft glow, and I read from my favorite books. Sometimes when I'm finished, I place my books beside my lamp, and I wrap a soft blanket around my shoulders, and I watch that flame flicker and dance. My lamp has seen me through joy and celebration, and it has given me comfort through disappointment and discouragement. Its constant flame has guided me through change, and it has given me courage in the hours of darkness. Even now, after years of use, my flame still burns as brightly as it did the day the lamp was made. My lamp was the first that he made, thoughtfully sculpted in pale yellow clay, strengthened by fire and refined, shaped and prepared to endure over time, through heartache and joy, by day and by night. It reminds me of treasures I've read by its light. It's more than a gift that he gave long ago. This lamp was the light that brings peace to my soul, flame that is constant through change, still burning as bright as the day it was made. Its warmth reassures that he listens to me, and lovingly, so tenderly speaks what I need. It's guided me all of my days, led me through valleys of sorrow's dust, bringing me comfort and strength, giving me courage to trust him in faith. It's more than a gift that he gave long ago. This lamp holds the light that brings peace to my soul, flame that is constant through change, still burning as bright as the day it was made. Its warmth reassures and he listens to me, and he lovingly, so tenderly speaks. The words of the shopkeeper live in my heart, whispering truth that shines light in the dark. A flame that is constant through change, so tenderly speaks what I need. Always tenderly speaks what I need.
The shopkeeper worried for Ashira because she was always so rushed and hurried. He watched her run in and out of her house all day long. Half the time, she had to run back for her shoes. Most of the time, she forgot to take her lamp. He knew of her great responsibility as a teacher, healer, mender, and caregiver, but he also knew the concerns of her heart.
Most days, it's all I can do to get myself dressed in the morning. When the sun comes up over the mountain, I get right to work. On one hand, I feel like I'm everything to everyone. On the other hand, I feel like I never get anything done. Sometimes I look up at the shop on the hill and I think, today will be the day. Between doing the dishes, scrubbing the floor, reading to the children in the village, and the trip to the market, I'll find the time. Always in the back of my mind, somehow I will find the time to visit you, to learn from you. But in trying to be everything, I'm missing the most important things: to know you, to feel you. Help me just find the time and remember my light. I will come to you today. Nothing will take your place. I will push the world away and I will run to you. Everything else can wait. Nothing matters more than you today. Always someone needing my time, always something on my mind, weighs on me, pulls at me. Help me lay down my load for what I need most. I will come to you today. Nothing will take your place. I will push the world away and I will run to you. Everything else can wait. Nothing matters more than you today. Nothing matters more today.
The shopkeeper knew that each of the women used her lamp in her own way. He also knew that those who visited his shop most frequently were those who used their lamps most often. As he was asked to do so, the shopkeeper would refill the tiny lamps with oil, drop by drop, according to each woman's need. Dina was the first to ask the shopkeeper for a vessel to hold more oil. It seemed that the supply in her lamp was not enough to keep the flame burning between her frequent visits to the shop. Dina was known throughout the village for her ability to bring comfort at any time of the day or night.
I use my lamp to light the way as I travel to the homes of the villagers during the darkest hours of the night. Because I use my lamp constantly, I was worried I might run out of oil on my journeys through the darkness. And so I asked the shopkeeper to make a vessel to carry extra oil for my lamp. My lamp has brightened the rooms of those who are sick and has warmed the lives of the lonely. It has accompanied me through times when I have seen sorrow and moments when I have seen grief. It's in your eyes, but hard to see. You've hidden it well, still I sense your need. You don't have to walk alone. I know a simple way to brighten up your road. I will fill my vessel and light my flame, and I will wait with you. I will stay with you until your heart begins to mend, and the last tear falls, and the shadows of the evening have given way to morning, and a flicker of hope returns, and your own light burns. I weathered storms, I felt the pounding rain. I am no stranger to grief and pain. Through it all, his love has been true. Now I want to share the hope and peace I found with you. I will fill my vessel and light my flame. I will wait with you. I will stay with you until your heart begins to mend, and the last tear falls, and the shadows of the evening have given way to morning, and a flicker of hope returns, and your own light burns. Ooh.
Nava's lamp was molded from beautiful, deep orange clay. After carefully inscribing an intricate floral design across the top of the lamp, the shopkeeper gently placed it in the kiln. Nava knew that her lamp was something to be treasured, and she carried it everywhere she went.
As I walked home with my new lamp, I watched the flame flicker and knew this gift was something to be treasured. But keeping the lamp lit is a difficult task, one that requires constant attention. And so, even though I carry it with me wherever I go, I rarely light my lamp. On special occasions, I sit down at the table in my kitchen and carefully pull the wick through the small hole at the top. I have to trim off the used and blackened portions before lighting it again. This will ensure that the flame will burn bright and true. Sometimes, I admire the soft, glowing beauty of the flame, and I wonder why I don't light my lamp more often.
The shopkeeper watched Gabriella closely for many days before he finally came up with the perfect design for her lamp. She was an unassuming woman and rarely called attention to herself, which made the task more challenging. She was also gentle and wise beyond her years. Her clothing was unadorned and beautiful in its simplicity. She had a natural style and elegance that were all her own.
Every morning, I make my way up the narrow path that led to the shopkeeper. I'm finding that by spending more time with him helps me to be more like him. I find in him a loyal friend. It is my hope that those who stop by my home to visit will find in me a loyal friend such as he is, one who speaks of others with kindness and admiration. When the shopkeeper asked what I hoped for, I asked him to make my lamp simple. He took the clay and molds it into a small oval that fits perfectly in the palm of my hand. With painstaking care, he smoothed away all of the rough spots and imperfections. My lamp is simple, allowing those who see it to focus only on its flame. Take my eyes, clear my view, heal my blindness until all I see is you. Take my lips that I may speak words of kindness that comfort, lift, and heal. Help me stand against the winds that blow, Make my feet to walk the path that you have shown. So I'll be more faithful and devoted. I'll be more worthy of your name. Will you polish and refine me and make me stronger than before? Through you I can become more.
Addie wondered if she would ever be enough, and the shopkeeper watched her struggle. He had crafted her lamp with a complicated geometric design, one that would stand out. Still, Addie spent much of her time comparing it to the lamps he had given the others.
I always feel as though I'm so much less than everybody else in the village. It doesn't matter what I do, it's never enough. Sometimes I wonder if the lamp the shopkeeper gave me is as nice as everybody else's. In some ways it is beautiful, but in other ways it's lacking. I just wish there was more I could do with the gift that I've been given.
The shopkeeper knew that Addie would struggle and tire of her lamp, and so he hid a yellow diamond pattern in the intricate design. With use, the diamond design would eventually show through. Uncomprehending, Addie longed for more. But would she ever truly discover the hidden treasure right there?
Am I enough? What do others see? When they pass me by, I wonder what they think. If they knew how I really felt inside. Oh, I want to change the insecurities I hide. Simple and plain, nothing beautiful or grand. But could I be if placed in your hands? Could I be more confident and happy? Could I be more sure of who I am? Will you polish and refine me and make me stronger than before? Through you, I hope to become more. I'll be more faithful and devoted. I'll be more worthy of your name. Will you polish and refine me and make me stronger than before? Through you can I become. Through you I can become more.
Liraz, she had a hard time waiting for her lamp to be made. As the shopkeeper was crafting her lamp, she would often run into the shop, pulling her wind-blown hair back into place, her round, beautiful brown eyes wide with anticipation.
I visited the shopkeeper every day and watched as he molded my lamp. I could hardly wait for the moment it would be done. He often told me he enjoyed my company and enjoyed our conversations. Now that my lamp is finished, my visits are fewer and further between. The journey up the hill is just too far. In the mornings, I'm too busy, and in the evenings, I'm too tired. But when I'm in desperate need, I go to him, and each time he seems so grateful for my visit. I can tell him anything, and that's the way it's always been. And every Every time I talk to him, it makes my day. I see his light in the distance and I don't forget to wave as my life goes by. In my hour of desperate need, he's been there to comfort me. When I've been in tears and shown up at his door, and now I try to stop for a visit as I run from place to place, but then the time goes by. Someday soon I'll spend the day telling him everything and listening to his gentle voice. Maybe someday I'll have that kind of time, but not today. I hope he understands. He understands my tender heart. He understands my restless soul. He loves my smile and he knows the things that makes me cry. I know that I need to see him and tell him how I feel before this night goes by.
Malka's lamp was hewn from a beautiful piece of soft red sandstone. After the shopkeeper had given her the gift, she looked at it in wonder. She was amazed that the shopkeeper had gone to the effort to make such a beautiful gift.
When the shopkeeper gave me my lamp, I noticed the design was very unique. It must have taken him hours to shape and smooth it. I thanked him for my gift and placed it carefully into my bag. Sometimes I look at my lamp and I can't believe how lucky I am. I'm flattered that the shopkeeper would take the time to make such a beautiful gift. But none of my friends ever uses her lamp. Besides, I know the village so well, I don't need a light to guide my way. I can see fine through the darkness, and I rarely light it at all. But this lamp truly is beautiful, so I place it in my home as a decoration for all my friends to admire. What a beautiful piece of work, a magnificent work of art. I've never seen a design like this, or as finely crafted a lamp as this beautiful piece of work. How many hours did it take to carve and smooth and shape? Oh, what an honor and joy it is. I'm flattered with such a gift as this beautiful piece of work. I guess I could take it out, but it could get worn, it might get broken, some misfortune or happenstance. Should I really take that chance on this beautiful piece of work, magnificent work of art? To show just what it means to me, I'll display it with care for all to see. This beautiful piece of work, magnificent work of art.
After the shopkeeper gave Leora her lamp, he had watched her take the hands of other villagers and by its light lead them through the darkness. He noticed that every time her path met another, she would pause, lift her lamp in front of her, and consider her direction. Because it was hard for Leora to focus in the darkness, the shopkeeper worried that she might become lost when she came to a fork or a bend in the road. He knew that without enough light, she would not be able to find her way.
One afternoon, the shopkeeper cut a long branch from a tree outside his shop and whittled it till it was smooth. And then he crafted this cup, just large enough for my lamp to fit inside, and he fastened it to the end of this pole. The shopkeeper must have known how I would treasure this unique gift. On the first evening after he gave it to me, I lit my lamp and fit it into the cup. I held my lamp high and it lit the entire path. I have noticed that the flame gets stronger as the night grows deeper, allowing me to help the lost, the weary, and the worn find their way back home. Evening lights retire one by one, tired eyes are setting with the sun, but surely as the day is done, some walk in shadows, faces that I've never seen before, some I've known so well I can't ignore, their voices calling at my door, lost as the wind blows, and by my lantern light, deep within the night, travelers turn to me with weary eyes. Brilliantly it glows, like a sky composed of stars that glimmer as the darkness grows, bringing hope, giving life, burning brightly by my lantern light. I would give every tiny part, every hidden corner of my heart, to mend a world that's torn apart, healing the aching, reaching out, something in my soul cries out loud, not for me but so much more, for those who wander in the cold, trembling and shaking, and by my lantern light, deep within the night, travelers turn to me with weary eyes. Brilliantly it glows, like a sky composed of stars that glimmer as the darkness grows, bringing hope, giving life, burning brightly by my lantern light. And should it fade away, its ashes turn to gray, it's not too late. For every fire that dies, the sun will fail to rise another day. And by my lantern light, deep within the night, travelers turn to me with weary eyes. Brilliantly it glows, like a sky composed of stars that glimmer as the darkness grows, bringing hope, giving life, burning brightly by my lantern light.
Jessa wasn't sure how it had happened. She woke up one morning to find her lamp in broken pieces on the floor. Perhaps it had blown off the table during the furious winds that had preceded the storm. She was devastated.
I felt as if my heart had broken. I could barely see through my tears as I picked up each of the tiny pieces and set them gently aside. Every time I passed by this small pile, I'd close my eyes and wonder if the heartache I felt inside would ever go away. After many days, I finally accepted what I had known all along. There was only one who could fix the lamp. So I gathered up the broken pieces and I started up the hill. It wasn't long before it began to rain. The path became slippery, and then the downpour came. The wind whipped my hair and my eyes, and it became hard to see. When I realized I wasn't going to make it, I cried out for help. And within an instant, he was there. The shopkeeper had been walking just below me. He covered me with his warm, heavy cloak, and he lifted me with his strong, steady arms, and he carried me up the hill. After the storm, he sent me down the hill with two gifts: my restored lamp and a grateful heart. I've walked through sorrow till I could walk no more. I felt the winds of change blow so hard, it's chilled me to the core. And pain has knocked at my door, but I have never hurt like this before. Only one can take the pieces of my heart and make them whole. Only one can part the darkness and breathe light into my aching soul. Wide awake
In time, the shopkeeper decided to marry and chose a bride. Each of the 10 women received an invitation to attend the wedding, and each was asked to take part in one of the village's most honored customs. On the night of the wedding, these 10 chosen women would use their lamps to light the doorway of the home where the wedding would be held. The glow from their lamps would bring honor to the groom as he entered the home for the celebration. It was a great privilege to be given this invitation, one that many women waited a lifetime to receive. The women could barely contain their excitement for the events that were about to unfold. And finally, the long-awaited day arrived. The 10 women made their way through the crowded streets of the village to the entry of the home where the wedding would be held. And the shopkeeper watched from the top of the hill and waited. Finally, the 10 chosen women arrived at their destination. Each found a comfortable place in the alcove of the doorway and settled down to wait. Time passed slowly, and growing weary, the women closed their eyes and slept. The 11th hour came and went. The entire village grew quiet under the soft glow of the moon, and still the shopkeeper watched from the top of the hill and waited. Someday the light giver will come and claim those who bear his flame. The very trees and skies will praise his name, and some will come to meet him and find his arms at last. Others will know their time has passed. The door will close and they will go, never to enter in. They will not know him when he comes. Then, at precisely the darkest hour of the night, when a hush had fallen over the sleeping village, those villagers who had patiently waited and watched raised a cry. The silence was broken. The women awoke with a start. The moment was at hand. It was time to trim their lamps. Suddenly alert, Jessa quickly used her oil to fill her darkened lamp. A lifetime of waiting had come to an end, and she hoped she had made sufficient preparation. Gabriella reached for her vessel and filled her simple lamp with all of the remaining oil she had. As she carefully tucked her empty vessel away, Nava, who was sitting beside her, let out a small cry. Her flame had gone out. Her lamp was empty. She had not brought any extra oil. What was she to do now?
I've looked forward to this day for as long as I can remember. I desperately want to be a part of this wedding, but my preparations just weren't enough. Why didn't I think to bring extra oil? The thought never crossed my mind.
Frantic, Nava turned to Gabriella to see if she had any extra oil, but there was none to spare. She watched the other women trim their lamps as tears ran down her cheeks and fell on the empty flowered lamp that was cradled in the folds of her dress. Realizing her mistake, Nava fell to the ground, weeping. With the bridegroom approaching, the preparations around her intensified, and soon other women in the group realized that they were also short of oil.
I've been so consumed with the daily necessities, taking care of my home, that I kept putting off making the trip up the hill. I simply ran out of time.
I haven't visited the shopkeeper in some time. The days turned into months and I've eventually lost track. I've waited for this moment for as long as I could remember, and it never occurred to me that he would arrive so late in the evening. I did not prepare for the delay.
I considered I considered getting oil for my lamp, but I rarely use it at all, and I wondered if there would be a wedding anyway. So I am not prepared with oil in my lamp.
I used all of my extra money to buy a new dress for the wedding. I wanted to look as nice as everybody else. I didn't have any money left over to buy any oil.
The 5 women rushed over to Dina and Leora and fell at their feet, begging for help. These women had brightened the darkness for them in the past. Surely they would share their oil. But what had been prepared could not be shared in an instant. Every drop was needed now. They could not risk letting their own lamps run empty. As much as they longed to help their friends, there was nothing they could do. Finally, weeping tears of frustration, the 5 foolish women turned to Eliana. The wise woman could give them nothing but advice.
You will have to go out into the darkness of the night and find oil. Buy what you need and then return. Hurry, he is coming.
Clutching their empty lamps, the frantic women ran out through the garden gate into the village streets. They would never make it back in time. The 5 remaining women carefully trimmed their wicks and finished emptying the oil from their vessels into their lamps. The bridegroom made his way through the crowded streets. He turned the corner just in time to see the 5 foolish women running toward the hill. His heart ached for their lack of preparation. Then he lifted his eyes to the doorway and took in the sight he had waited a lifetime to see. Leora was there with her finely crafted pole, holding her lamp high. The flame from Gabriella's simple lamp lit up her eyes, which glistened with anticipation. Dina lifted her lamp so the flame could dance with the others, adding a soft glow to the brilliant display of light. Eliana rested a wrinkled hand on Dina's arm and lifted her yellow lamp as high as her frail arm could reach. And quiet Jessa, she had fallen to her knees, her lamp cupped carefully in both hands, while tears of overwhelming gratitude streamed down her cheeks. These 5 women had each come to know the bridegroom, and their hearts filled with joy as they watched him stride through the garden gate and down the pathway that led to the great wooden door.
He lifted me and he strengthened me.
He believed in me and encouraged me.
When I was weak, he made me strong.
When I thought I could not go on, he made up the difference.
When I found disappointment, he offered me consoling peace.
The shopkeeper paused and greeted each of the women one by one. Then he invited them in for the wedding feast. Together, the 5 women raised their lamps in a final tribute and went in with him into the marriage, and the great wooden door was shut. And at that day when I shall come in my glory, shall the parable be fulfilled which I spake concerning the 10 virgins. For they that are wise and have received the truth, and have taken the Holy Spirit for their guide, have not been deceived. Verily I say unto you, they shall be not hewn down and cast in the fire, but shall abide all the day. For the Lord shall be in their midst, and his glory shall be upon them. We are all invited to the feast. Each of us is welcome, from the greatest to the least. We hold the invitation in our hands. It's written in each crevice of our own land. I promise I'll prepare to be there on that day, dancing in the glory as we celebrate.
Like a lamp, the master planned each of us with his grand design. The oil is the light, I will burn through the night as I wait for him to come again.
There will
comes for me. Humble hearts are waiting for the day, faithfully preparing for the chance to light his way. Guardians of the vessels that will burn, watching for the master to return. Maker of the gift that only he can fill, keeper of the precious oil is waiting still. Like a lamb, the master planned each of us with his grand design. The oil is the light I will burn through the night as I wait for him to come again. There will always be enough if I run to him to fill it up, drop by drop by drop, till I know him perfectly and he comes for me. And I will kiss the hands that never when he comes again, I will honor him. Like a lamb, the master planned each of us with his grand design. The oil is the light I will burn through the night as I wait for him to come again. There will always be enough if I run to him to fill it up, drop by drop, till I meet you at his feet.
And I know him perfectly.
I'll be worthy of my King when he comes for me.
Everyone knows his face, the shopkeeper on the hill. All through the night, the light in his window burns as he works the clay, and everyone waits to see the lamp he's designed.